Hey everybody, Bones here, Bones Garage, just bringing you an update what's going on at the garage. So, 1963 Chevy C-10 Pickup. Last time we were here, we had just put the motor in and started setting everything up. We now have everything finally, after about 100 different pulleys, all set up on the front of this motor. We made this plate for the compressor, which is actually going to run the air ride system. Got a belt, got the pulleys that are gonna work and keep all the belts in line for the alternator, the compressor, down to the tensioner, the crankshaft pulley, water pump pulley, and the power steering pump pulley. And you can see how nicely lined up all these belts are. Look at how beautiful that looks. Goes straight down, everything is nice. There's the power steering belt, that is perfectly lined up. And then if you come onto this side, you'll see that there is the compressor, and that is perfectly lined up. So everything is looking really good on this. We finished running the hard line for the fuel to go to this fuel rail right here, so it feeds all three carburetors. We also have put in and made up all of the power steering lines. I usually buy these unmade and then make them up and make them to fit, because there's really not a ton of room down here to get the power steering line. So that's your return line right there, and that is your high pressure line right there, and they both connect back into over here on the back of the power steering pump. Another thing we got all done is we now have the steering shaft all set up and ready to go, and it steers absolutely beautiful. Turns from left to right, no binding, no problems. We ended up having to cut the whole top, the whole steering shaft off of the original steering column and make everything up so it works correctly now. So that came out really nice. We have the wires now run. We are just waiting on all of the clips to get the wires so that they sit on the oil pan bolts and do not fall into the exhaust system over here, because that's your exhaust manifold, and then it drops down into the pipe goes down and turns back to the back of the truck. So we're waiting on all the parts to get all that tied up, so this way it sits where it's supposed to and stays away from the exhaust system. So there you go. We are moving along nicely now. A lot of work went into getting that to work right and to get all of our accessory drive belts on there. And the main reason is we have the old style heads. They have no accommodations for any of the brackets. The newer 350s, you have holes, 4 holes in these heads. This you don't. So everything is a little bit more of a PIA because of that, and everything has to be spaced properly, so this way it works correctly, and everything lines up, and you can see that everything is now lining up. We had to do a bunch of work on this bracket here for the compressor, so this way we can get the tensioner in the right place, so it actually puts tension on this belt. And we had to redo this whole plate here so that it will clear the valve cover back here. You see how it kind of cuts in? There's the valve cover right there. We had to make sure that nothing hit down there. So yeah, a little bit of work goes into it, and we had to do some work on this bracket to get it to fit onto the exhaust manifold. And this exhaust manifold had a different AC bracket set up right here, similar to this exhaust manifold, which has that big bracket right there, which actually holds the alternator. And for the alternator, we ended up having to make this plate over here and stick the alternator bracket from this side to the top side. So this way the alternator sits where it needs to be. So yeah, a lot of work goes into that. People don't realize there's 1,000 different pulleys, 1,000 different brackets, and it takes a lot of time to get all these belts to run perfectly. And if you don't have them perfect, when you get into the higher RPMs or when you put a load on the belt, it will take the belt and throw it right off. So there you go, guys. There's what's going on. Having fun. Alrighty. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Okay, bye.